Okay, good. Thank you. Lovely. So today workshop will be focused, as we all know, in React testing. Last week we present from our teacher Ricardo unit testing. But before we jump in, does anyone remember or can tell me why testing in React and in general in web development is really important?
Because in the short term, you might not be able to see the sense in testing what you're doing, but in the long term, if somebody were to refactor or change that code, it could have massive knock-on effects.
Yep.
And that's why having tests in place is definitely worth having.
All right.
And also, if you scale, then it's hard to maintain all big chunks of your code, I believe.
Yeah, all answers are correct because we have to ensure, of course, that what we have made till now is works fine. You go on holidays, you give the code to the development team, and you want to come back. You have some information the client gave you, and make sure that this information stayed as is supposed to be. So today we are going to use a different method for our testing, and what I'm going to do is we're going to use Jest and Enzyme. Does anyone has heard about Jest or Enzyme before?
No,
not me, no.
Okay, so basically I chose this method to do it with Jest only because it has been recommended first of all from RMBB documentation. Facebook is using it. Jest is the node-based test runner that allows parallel testing. Enzyme that matches perfectly with Jest is the library, the utility package that we will need to test the React components. So we will use the Enzyme library to test the components inside the Jest, which is our test runner. And how we do that? So first thing we need to do, because I have downloaded on my computer, first thing we need to do is basically we have to install the adapter and the enzyme. So if you go to the documentation, which I'm going to share with you guys, basically on that part here, we install this in our Visual Studio Code. I'm not going to do it today because I have already installed it on the VS Code just to do it faster, a few things. The second thing we need to do is we need to set up a test.js file, okay? And for that, when we go there, we actually, what we say here, we say that we configure that the enzyme will use the adapter in order to run the tests. So when we just create this file with the code that you will actually find as well on the documentation, then we just save the file and we don't use it again. Okay? All good till now?
Yeah, all good.
Okay.
I think setup test.js comes with the React grade app.
Yeah.
It comes already. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I just show this file just to understand why this file exists anyway in our VS Code. I'm sure you have seen it many times as well. So cool. Just, why we have this code here, why we have to use that. It's just because Enzyme we need to configure that the enzyme will use this adapter to run the tests. So basically what we have here, we are going to test two different components on our app. We are going to test first to start the footer, which is a very simple state component. So we have here, as you see, just an H3 tag and a span. And then we're going to test the counter, which been used. We use hooks, as you see. We state the component initial state is 0, and we go down on the button just to simulate that the button works. Now we're going to do unit testing with Jest, and then you will help me out a bit. Let's say if we want to do another one with the H3 tag. All right. So first things first, as you all have seen, we have to create our test file. Okay, import React from React. Now we import, as you can see, shallow from Enzyme. This means, that, first of all, shallow is a function that belongs to the Enzyme library, okay? And the shallow, I will show you in 1 second that we are going to use it to render the component we want to test inside the test. And of course, we need to import our component, which is the footer in this case. Okay. Last week, do you guys remember how we start describing the test?
Yeah, by writing the describe and then parentheses and then quotes and then the title of the testing.
Cool. So today we're gonna use the it instead of describe. Describe basically allows you to run multiple tests in one. With the it, we're gonna just test one. So let's say in that case we describe that, let's say span on footer must be as the client wants. And what was the second argument, Maxime?
The second arrow function.
Great. So we have arrow function. All right. And now the first thing we do is we render footer inside the test. So I'm sure you have seen from the Codiri platform something like that. We use the shallow function to actually render the component. Okay. And now we're in the top of the tree on here. We want to go down. So in order to go down, we continue, go const span equals wrapper dot find, and we want to find the span. Basically, the dot find, it finds the selector to match, and then this will return a new wrapper that wraps the found nodes. So in that case, we go to the span that we want to render, and then the result that we want, we call it result text. Now we write the first test, expect, as you saw last week, to be something. Can anyone complete that with me? Max or Lauren or Elena? What do we expect
True.
Here to be?
True.
In which one we write that?
Yeah, to be true.
So we expect the result to be exactly as it is in here. So we say we expect the result. It's more simple than we think. To be Codiri is awesome. Okay, so that's basically, it's very simple. Yeah, it's basically very simple. And then we just run the test, and basically it should be, you should have the order that is correct, and everything works fine. It takes a bit long though.
Okay, Vicky, the first time always takes longer.
Go.
So would it start with line 13, then you start okay, so expect, then parenthesis, then result, then equal, then h3.
1 second. You said expecting the parenthesis result?
Yeah, to be.
Mm-hmm.
To be, and parenthesis, right, and quotes,
mm-hmm.
and then copy from the footer dot the const. Actually, create a const and name it result1, let's say. And then you would have to change on the line number 13 to test number 1. It's about the indentation.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And line number 13, semicolon in the end of the line number 13.
Do you
I
think
so, yeah.
const result one we have said is h3.text? However, the problem is that when you're on the tree on the top, you have to say first one. Okay. Let's say it's the h3 tag, right? H3 tag, we go wrapper dot find.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. But let's ask the test.
No, it's not gonna work.
Oh no.
So, sorry, I don't know what was that. So no, it's not gonna work because actually we have 3 H3 tags. We don't know which actually are we targeting. So the solution on that is that we add a class name and we call it let's work.
No, it will pass. Should pass.
Now it should pass.
Must
yeah.
pass.
No, it hasn't passed. No, it hasn't passed again. Let me see. We named it as a total. 1 second. Let me do it again.
Yeah, so sometimes the test runner is a bit slow. I
have to save it again.
Legacy results. Yeah. So if you think you're right, I'll keep trying to figure out whether you're right or not. But in the meantime, let's give it another go to see if now it works.
Yeah,
you see,
it's working. I knew it was correct because we basically what we do here is that as we've seen the platform, we specify that the h3 dot total is that the h3 tag we are looking for by given a class name. Okay, and then in the beginning, it's just imagine you have to go as a tree one by one. So that's a simple. That's one of the simple tests we're going to do with the footer. And since we did this, let's test the counter. Let's have a look on the counter. And now we start with it. That is working. So counter, let's say initial state starts from 0. Okay, arrow function.
Did you have to do shadow?
Yeah.
No?
Sure.
And then
let's say
the result. First one, right?
We testing the state of the
state out there.
Not going to work. So as you see here as well that we have 2 tests on the bottom and it's working. So we have the footer and the counter, which means that's why with Jest we can, first as we just put simulate the button. Okay, const button, we are down on the button.
On click.
Yep, so we just right click, simple as that. Okay, and then we move again. We want let's say what we want is the total number 2. Just gonna save it again. So you see in the beginning when we had it as a number, so we expect 0, but it received this, so that's why we.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah, no,
it is. But I just.
Go on.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
So why do we on the line number 18? We pass a number. Well, we put the number 1 as a string, not as a number. What if it was going to be incremented? Let's say 2, 3, 4. We will continue to click on.
Yes.
So is it just going to pass the first one, and this means that our component is fine.
So here so you mean in the beginning we basically we in the beginning we test that it is 0,
Yeah, why would you do?
So basically, I got a string and I was waiting a number. So it will read it only if it's as a string. If it's as a string, the number. It's not gonna read it as a number if you don't put it as a string. It will do that.
Sorry, Vicky. Does the .2b just recognize strings and it doesn't? It just like false.
So you cannot actually run the test. So that's basically the I had this question as well.
I see. Now.
That's why also on our platform you see, for instance, why we put the click and why don't we put it on click, because the simulate, this is a type of events it will take, or that should be again the same. So it's like it's more simple, but it's just sometimes you're questioning how you're doing these things. But so this is basically how we simulate and we check the clicks. This is how also in our platform it runs tests behind that the answer we put, if it is correct or not. So they basically when we type our answers in the platform, the test is trying to match what you put it inside with what is expected to be. That's the idea. And let's also, this is the unit testing. I'm gonna give it .js .find method, and the .find selector basically is trying to find what you're trying to test. So this is a very good documentation just for you guys to have. I can share later. And the last thing we are going to test then is the app.js under. We expect the footer to exist. All the components, find the footer, and it's giving you, the problem is with the shallow. For this, do we have?
So try again, and then in the meantime, please make sure you are importing the component correctly.
Complaining. .exist. Guys, that's a very short presentation of the testing. I hope you enjoyed it. Volume 2 will be soon.
I thought that was really good, mate. I really enjoyed that.
So
well done, Vicky.